Every time they take it up a notch, I think that's where they're gonna stop, and it just keeps going. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I am Molly, and in this video I'm going to be listening to the album Black Gives Way to Blue by Alice in Chains. Now, it has been a long time since I've gotten to an Alice in Chains reaction here on my channel. So far in their discography, I've heard their first 3 studio albums featuring Layne Staley on vocals, and Black Gives Way to Blue, their 4th studio album, is the first one they put out after Layne's passing. So it's got different vocalists. I believe Jerry Cantrell, their lead guitarist, and William Duvall step in on vocals with this one. So yeah, I'm just really interested to check it out and see what I'm going to think of it. Alright, starting off with track 1 on this album is All Secrets Known. Man, there's a lot of fuzziness to this. It has this really kind of dense, cloudy sound to it, if that makes sense. Man, I'm not sure if this is William or Jerry that I'm hearing right now, but I really do like his vocals. They've got such a great smoothness to them. I'm not sure what that sound effect just was. Almost sounded like a synthesizer or something. Well, that was track 1, All Secrets Known. Fantastic introduction to that album. I wasn't expecting so much denseness and like a heaviness when I clicked play. And the obvious difference with this album is Layne's no longer on vocals, but I don't know if it was Jerry or William. I think it was Jerry Cantrell, their lead guitarist. I think he took over lead vocals on this album, and I really enjoyed his voice. It had this great open, sort of drawn out smoothness to it, which really fit with the instrumentals well. But a great way to get this album started. I'm excited to hear more, so I'm going to move on to track 2, which is called Check My Brain. Is that the guitar I'm hearing? It has such a droning quality to it. I love how the chorus, it almost like lifts up, if that makes sense. That verse is kind of drony, and then the chorus, it almost like lifts up out of that. I love the harmonizing too, having the 2 vocalists. It's just adding an extra layer to this song. That was track 2, Check My Brain. That one I thought they did a really good job of somehow making it drawn out and super sludgy, but it also had this sort of speediness to it as well. I'm really enjoying Jerry's voice. I thought on that track especially, it did sound a lot like the older Alice in Chains stuff with Layne's vocals that I'm used to. They're definitely staying true to that sound that they carved out for themselves on their first 3 records. Moving on to track 3 is Last of My Kind. Okay, certainly an interesting start to that one. Very haunted and kind of demented with its tone. I love those guitars doing all that funky stuff in the background. This song just keeps getting heavier and heavier. Every time they take it up a notch, I think that's where they're gonna stop, and it just keeps going. Well, that was track 3, Last of My Kind. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but at the very, very end there, when it was fading out, those guitars, the tone of them, actually reminded me a lot of Gojira. And I think that track was William Duvall on lead vocals. It definitely sounded like a different singer. I liked his voice a lot, though. I thought that it fit really well with Jerry's, too, and they kind of work really well together on this album. But I'm going to move on to track 4, which is called Your Decision.
Time to change has come and gone. It's your decision.
All right, this one, they're definitely slowing things down a bit. It's got a really gentle quality to it.
Overwhelmed, you chose to run.
I love that little guitar there with the twanginess going on.
It's your decision.
Ooh, I love that bass. That just kind of shone through there a little bit.
It's over.
That was track 4, Your Decision. I got goosebumps there at the very end. I loved the tone of that song. I thought it was interesting too. Lyrically, what I was picking up on, it kind of sounded like making the decision to move on from grief or move on from a low point in your life. And tonally, that track almost matched with those lyrics. Like the first 3 tracks on this album had all that sludginess and kind of a darker quality to them. And then that track was noticeably lighter. It had more of an acoustic sound to it, and it's almost like you're making that choice to kind of start to heal and move yourself out of that darker place. Moving on is track 5, which is called A Looking in View. Man, there's such a big sound to this song. It's very dramatic in a way. Like there's just all of this atmospheric, kind of echoey quality that it has. Okay, we got a little change up going on all of a sudden. I love how they delivered that vocal just there, crawling on your skin, and it just did have like this creepy crawly sound to it. Okay, now we're getting some definite Deftones vibes at the end of this one. With these distorted vocals, it sounds like someone talking over a radio. That was track 5, A Looking in View. Such a fascinating tone with that one. I loved it. That song, it was like you could really just sink down into it. It had so much heaviness. The vocals too were going all over the place. At times they would bring a ton of energy. It would be a little bit more upfront and really punchy. And then at other times they would keep it pulled back, almost more in the background, and the instrumentals would kind of drown out the vocals almost. Moving on to track 6 is When the Sun Rose Again. A lot of lightness with this one, kind of a really natural, like springtime quality to its tone. The effect they're doing on the vocals is cool. That little echoey thing that they're throwing on. was track 6, When the Sun Rose Again. It kind of reminded me of track 4, Your Decision, in how it was a lot more restrained and slowed down. It had a very strong acoustic quality to it. The percussion on that one was really interesting. That was definitely standing out, and I loved the little echoey parts that they would do on the vocals too. Even though that song had a very warm, kind of lush springtime sound to it, the way they would echo those vocals, it almost gave it like this tiny little slice of eeriness almost. But moving on to track 7 is Acid Bubble. You see how they just draw their words out? It's just making these tracks sink down, like it's adding so much to that heaviness. All right, another little change up going on. They're bringing so much anticipation to this song. The way that they're just drawing it out like this, it's like they're slowly building things up. I really like the contrast of this percussion with the guitars. The guitars have all of that distortion going on, and they're kind of just like this blanket of sound, and then the percussion like pops through that almost. That was track 7, Acid Bubble. Such an interesting track. That one went all over the place with its sound. It definitely threw me for a lot of loops listening to it. They kept changing it up. And again, those guitars, I loved the tone of them across that whole song. Just very drawn out. Like that whole song just had this stretched out quality to it. Very, very sludgy and something kind of menacing almost about it. Like it was building up all of this energy. Moving on is track 8, which is called Lesson Learned.
Just another lesson learned. Feeling like you never could.
I love the harmonizing. Their voices really do work so well together, I've got to say.
Others are shining. Your darkest hour, you strike gold.
In your darkest hour, you strike gold. That was track 8, Lesson Learned. That one had a noticeably more speedy quality to it, a little bit less of that sludginess. I would say that one kind of reminded me a little bit more of Alice in Chains' older stuff with Lane. I loved the vocals on that one, the harmonizing between William and Jerry. Their voices just worked really, really well together, I thought. But I'm going to move on to track 9, which is called Take Her Out. I love this guitar right here. It's kind of cutting through the more sludgy aspect of this song. It's bringing like a slightly lighter tone to it. Yeah, it's like they're playing this in a big stadium or something. It just has such a big, expansive quality to its sound. That was track 9, Take Her Out. A lot of layers with that one. I don't know how many instrumentalists Alice in Chains has on their new lineup on Black Gives Way to Blue, but there's so many guitars alone that I keep picking up on. Just a lot of nuances with their sound. And his voice too just had an amazing presence to it. There was something very mesmerizing almost about that track. Moving on to track 10 is Private Hell. The very beginning of this one is actually reminding me a little bit of Down in a Hole. There's some similarity there I'm picking up on. I think I'm picking up on some flashes of stringed instruments coming through in the background, like maybe a violin. I loved how that vocal just there kind of echoed and faded out. Man, this song is so smooth, and yet it's got so much energy to it. That was track 10, Private Hell. Such a beautiful song. I think it was the violin I kept hearing. They didn't really go super heavy-handed with it or anything, but it was just like this melodic touch in the background that I thought added so much to that song. Something kind of somber and melancholy, but at the same time, sort of hopeful too. I don't know, they kind of mashed up those two elements and put it in that song, and it just worked fantastically. But I am really curious to see how this album is going to come to a close. So I'm going to move on to the final song, which is the title track, Black Gives Way to Blue.
I don't wanna feel no more.
Man, there is such an amazing tone to this song. It's very clear. There's absolutely no distortion or anything.
Tomorrow's haunted by
How that guitar is mimicking the vocal delivery, that's cool.
curtains drawn, now it's done.
I love the piano too. Again, it's just bringing a great melodicness to this song.
Black gives way to blue. I'll remember you.
That was track 11, Black Gives Way to Blue. A really tender, beautifully melodic way to bring that album to a close, and a great tribute to Lane Staley as well. I feel like Alice in Chains really took this record and poured out all of their grief and emotions on it, and that track just really emphasized all of that beautiful emotion that they encapsulated on this album. Well, that concludes my reaction to Black Gives Way to Blue, the fourth studio album from Alice in Chains. This record actually really surprised me in how dense and distorted they took the sound. It had a very strong sludgy quality to it. And this record too is just a great testament to how talented Alice in Chains is. I know Lane Staley was kind of the face of the band for a while, and his voice was very incredible, but even without him on vocals, they are just such a talented group of musicians, and I thought they did fantastically well across this whole album. One of the standouts for sure was track 2, Check My Brain. That one I thought fused a sort of speediness with that slowed down sludgy quality I was talking about. And then track 5, A Looking in View, might actually be my favorite one right now on this entire record. That one was just so incredibly heavy. I loved it. Very, very sludgy and dense with its sound, but such a great album. I thought there was so much variety on this thing. The production was impeccable, and I am really, really looking forward to hearing the rest of Alice in Chains' discography now. But yeah, as usual, thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video.